Hi, and welcome to the Herwoodian Crafter podcast. I'm Jutta, coming to you from Tampere, Finland, and this is the 11th episode of the podcast, and I'm going to be talking to you today mostly about knitting. This is the second time I'm recording this episode. I recorded one on Saturday, and today is Tuesday, and today when I started to edit the podcast, the sound quality was really poor, so now I've been fiddling around with it for a little bit, and hopefully now it'll be good. It's been just I think it's now just a little over a month since I last recorded, and I've been surprisingly busy. I think I said last time that my mom was coming to visit for a week, and she did, and then the next weekend I went to a gig with two of my best friends, and one of them stayed over for the weekend, and then not the weekend just passed, but the weekend before that my little brother was here for one night, and then last weekend I tried to record but messed the sound up. I've also been sick, which you might still hear from my voice, and I might have to pause the recording for a little bit if I get a coughing fit. But I'm mainly okay, so I'm doing my utmost to get an episode to you. Yeah. Today is Tuesday, and like in the few previous episodes, my kid is taking a nap, so hopefully I will get this in one go. So, for that purpose, let's dive right in. I have a finished object, which I didn't have on Saturday. I finished them last night, and it's woven in. They're still a bit damp, but yeah, they're done. These are the Virva fingerless mitts from the newest Line magazine, which I'll talk about with you a little bit later on. But I saw a picture of these before the issue was released, and I just loved them already. So it had to be this pattern that I cast on first. And the designer is Fiona Alice, if I don't remember completely wrong. And the yarn is the Primrose Yarn Company MCN base in the colorway Grumpy Jello, which I bought a few episodes back, and I showed you the skein. There's also a hat to go with these, which I've started. I'll show the start ribbing next, but I kind of like the fact that the mitts and the hat are designed so that one skein should be enough, 100-gram skein. So yeah, these are done. I'm sure they'll get a lot of wear. And then the hat is probably just about, no, it's not, it's right here. So this is what I have left of the 100-gram skeins for the hat, and then I have this much of the bottom ribbing done. And yeah, I think I said when I showed the skein to you that I wasn't sure. I was surprised that it didn't feel quite as luxurious as I would have expected. This is my first MCN skein, so people have talked so much about MCN yarns that I was kind of expecting maybe a little bit more, but now that I'm knitting this, I'm starting to get what people are talking about. This feels kind of, it's hard to describe. It's it doesn't feel like it doesn't feel plasticky, but it doesn't feel woolly. It's just very smooth, and it has a strange sort of feel to it, but I like it. And I think I'll get a lot of wear out of it. I don't have many hats to use, so I hope this will be good. I was kind of worried when I started this yesterday that if this is going to be big enough for my head, because even though my head is very proportionate, my head is quite large. But with what they said was the width and what the ease was, it has something like 11 to 14 centimeters of negative ease. This might fit. If not, then I will have to just knit it again with larger needles or something like that. Then I have another new cast on. I've talked about this project previously, but now I've gotten it started. So I told you earlier in a few episodes, I think I've mentioned that I'm going to make a sweater for my sister for her graduation present. She's graduating to be a nurse. I think she said that her probable graduation date is early November. And since my mom came to visit, we got the yarn for the sweater, and we had talked about maybe going half and half on the cost of the yarn, but this was kind of, my mom went along with it, that she bought the yarn and I will do the knitting. And I've gotten a decent amount of work done. So this is the Bubbly Sweater by Isabel Kramer, and I've separated for the sleeves and done a little bit of the hem. So this much, and actually now you can see that it's not black, it's a navy blue, and then this is just your basic light gray. We had back in, I think it was end of May, early June, when my sister was here visiting, when we talked about that, we looked at sweater patterns, and she got to decide which which kind of sweater she wanted. And then we did talk about a few color choices, but in the end she said that she was sure that I would make a good decision for her, that she didn't have a strong opinion of what she would like. So that's what I decided on, and she's seen a picture of that and she was very happy with it, so thank goodness. Yeah, and now it's just endless amounts of stockinette stitch to be knitted. It's a good TV knit. You don't need to, it's really kind of, you don't need any brain function for it. You just need to keep track of not dropping many stitches, and that's it. Then my other endless stockinette project is my pavement sweater. It's hard to tell how much more I've gotten done, but I do have a stitch marker where I think I was last time I showed this to you, and I've gotten maybe this much more done. And yeah, not much to say about this. It's going well. I got to try it on night, and even though I think it was something like 3.5mm needles that was recommended in the pattern, this is done. I'm doing these with the 5mm needles, and at least pre-blocking this isn't very kind of too loose. It's an okay fit, which is very nice. So probably when I block this, I will probably do a very gentle block, just kind of get it wet and set it out to dry, because this yarn has been knit once or twice before. I wasn't happy with the product I was getting back then, so I ripped it back. And now there's on a little bit of a hiatus, because while I do have more of this yarn, it's in my stash somewhere. I haven't had the energy to kind of dig it out. So I don't know how long it will be until I get back to this, but I think the bubbly sweater does take precedent anyway. Then I think I showed this to you last time I recorded. This is going to be a project bag, and this is the main part. I will do some handles on it, and then also I decided on making a kind of lining to that. So since it's a project bag, it's meant to be it's meant to protect your projects, but since that's a crochet bag, it does it possibly could let your needles out, and that's not what I want. So I will be putting some fabric and interfacing inside, and hopefully that will solve the problem. And also it will help with kind of I'm doing a kind of a, so you can close it with the lining fabric. I'm not explaining that very well, but I'm going to show that to you anyway next time I record, which will hopefully be in 2 weeks. And hopefully I will have at least one of these done. This is going to be a smaller one. This should fit at least 2 skeins and a small project, or maybe a sock project, but this is meant to be really a smaller size. And then I have the start of a bigger project, bigger version of this. So it's a little bit larger, I think. The measure from the center to the brim in this one is something like, was it 19? No way. I have a tape measure on my wrist. I can measure it. So basically this is going to be, helps if you put it the right way around. Yeah, this is about 11 centimeters from the center to the brim, and then this is about once again, very exciting podcasting happening right here. This is about 13 centimeters, so this will be it's gonna be a bigger one, and I tried to measure this so this would fit maybe 3 skeins or fewer skeins, and it has a little bit more room for the project. We'll see how that goes. That's about all of the projects I have to discuss with you that have had any kind of exciting developments with them. I have a few pieces of acquisitions to share with you. And I've been very good. I haven't bought any new yarn except for dyeing purposes, but I have 2 new magazines to share with you. So you probably guessed it, but I went out and bought the new issue of Linen magazine, and at first glance the patterns in here weren't there were fewer patterns that kind of grabbed my attention. at first glance, but at the second glance I think there were a few more. So there's maybe 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, maybe 8 patterns that I marked down as maybe wanting to make them. And if I don't remember completely wrong, there's something like 10 or 11 patterns in here. So once again, very good ratio on the patterns versus what I would actually like to knit. There are a few patterns that I really liked. One was the Virva mittens, which I can show the picture for you here. Just a minute. So this is the kind of magazine picture of them. Really pretty. But what I really kind of fell in love with was the Teolai cardigan, which is just so beautiful and looks so comfy, and it's knit with Aran weight yarn, so it's a quicker knit than if it were a fingering weight yarn used. Excuse me. Here's a photograph of the texture, and then there are a few more pictures of it on the next page. And it's just looks so beautiful, and I like that it's done with different types of 2x2 rib variations, and it has pockets, and it just looks so comfy. It looks like it's perfect to wear on a crisp cold morning with warm teacup in your hands, and the more I think about it, the funnier it is to have that kind of mental image, since Finnish weather gets really cold in the winter, and we do have good insulation in our houses, so it doesn't need to get that cold inside. But that's just the mental image I have of that, and I'm just enamored with the mental image. And there was also really lovely an article about Wistwool, which is local to the Outer Hebrides in northern Scotland. I feel like I want to go there and visit and see everything, and I really like Scotland anyways, but yeah. And then also there was this article about the travel article that they have every month. This time it's Berlin, and in the last few months I've actually been thinking about maybe wanting to go to Berlin at some point, which earlier I haven't felt the kind of pull for that city in particular. But this just kind of added to that thinking that maybe it might be a nice city to visit. Maybe it probably is worthwhile to visit there. And I've only heard good things about Berlin, so yeah. It's been over a year now since we got married, and we still haven't gone to our kind of, I hesitate to say honeymoon, since we've been together for over 9 years. But our wedding trip is still to be gone to. And we've been talking about going to Copenhagen, but I think Berlin is a strong contender. We'll have to see when we have the time to go. Then on I think it was maybe Thursday last week, this came in the mail. It's the winter issue of Novita magazine, and well, this usually has less patterns that I really want to knit. They are beautiful patterns, but I go by what I might actually do for myself at one point or another. So there are fewer patterns in here than there were in line. Actually, I think it might be the same amount, but this has 48 patterns. So in that sense, the ratio isn't as good, but this is something like 29 euros a year, and you get 4 issues, and if every issue has even close to 8 patterns, then I think it's quite okay value for money. The few really pretty patterns that stuck to my mind in here were this really kind of simple and it's I'm not sure whether I would say a tunic or a dress, but this looks like a really good kind of simple layering piece. The top layer, I usually don't wear anything like this, but if I ever get anything like this done, I think it might get a good amount of wear. And then there was a really beautiful sock pattern in here, which kind of is rare for me. I usually don't go for sock patterns easily because I've knitted so many socks, but this was really a beautiful leafy sock pattern. The color strikes my fancy too, but the pattern is really pretty. So I think those will be on the needles quite soon, because that will be a quick project in the midst of all those sweaters. But yeah, I'm really happy with this as well, even though I'm not as enamored with Novita magazine as I am with Line, for example. But I do appreciate that this is an option, and this is quite widely available. And it just speaks to how much knitting is part of the Finnish culture, which of course I love. But yeah, I'm zooming through this. This is going to be a short episode once again, which is not a bad thing, but I was kind of hoping to get a longer episode out, and I did have an hour's worth of recording. A very blabbery episode, but no use crying over spilled milk. The voice wasn't good, so I'm not gonna put that out. But on the stash busting front, I've gotten a little bit more done. So I haven't bought any new yarn to stash, and I have had a little bit of progress done with that. So at the moment, I'm somewhere around 560 grams out. I'm not going to go through all of kind of what that consists of, but I've had a good amount done with the cotton yarns for the project bags, and then I have added a little bit of yarn to the pavement sweater. I'm not counting the bubbly sweater yarns into my stash quite yet. I'm going to get that sweater done, and then maybe, depending on how much yarn I have left, I might do colorwork mittens for my sister as well, just to get as much of the yarn used. But after I'm done with the sweater, then what remains will be added to my stash, or maybe after the mittens. I don't know, but yeah, I think I'm on my third full skein on the pavement sweater, but I'm not 100% sure if that's the third or second full skein of the navy yarn. But anyways, that doesn't count in or out as of yet. So that's that. Then I'll have to see. It's kind of inching closer to the time that my kid might be waking up, but I think I have time to talk about some audio podcasts I've been listening to, because just as a kind of a little bit of a appeasement for having such long breaks in between episodes, I wanted to try and get a little bit more content on this episode. So yeah, I don't listen to many audio knitting podcasts, because for me it's kind of a main thing that I get to see the yarn they've used and I get to see the pattern they use. And for me, the kind of quite often just a verbal description without any kind of visual help. The verbal description doesn't usually match up to my mental image of that, and I don't mean that as a lack of the person, the podcaster, but more of maybe my imagination works a little bit funny. I don't know, but these podcasts aren't knitting related. There are other things. They have other subject matter. So if you're not interested in that, that's not. I think you might want to just stop here, because that's the amount of knitting and crafting related content I have. But yes, the first audio podcast I want to mention is My Favorite Murder. I heard about this from Katie from Inside Number 23, and I tend to gravitate on TV shows towards the kind of grisly and gruesome series. I like Criminal Minds, and I like well, it's a lighter one, but Bones, and I like what else should I say? At times I like to watch CSI. On the lighter vein, I tend to watch Hercule Poirot and Miss Marbles and Vera Stanhope I'm not sure what it's properly in English, but the series that has Vera Stanhope in it. And I've started watching Peaky Blinders and things like that. And My Favorite Murder is quite a good addition to that kind of fascination. And I really like how the podcast hosts Karen and Georgia are really kind of respectful and empathetic towards the victims, but they have a really kind of dark sense of humor, and they handle the gruesome parts of it with kind of a lovely touch of humor, which might sound inappropriate to people who don't get it, who aren't interested in true crime, but it just lightens the mood enough. And the humor is mainly directed at either other things, or the murderers, not so much towards the victims, or they really do their best to avoid victim blaming and stuff like that. So I think they handle themselves very, very well, and it's a really kind of interesting, gruesomely interesting podcast to listen to. And then the next podcast I heard from, actually I kind of heard about it from my favorite murder podcast, and that's the Zealot podcast, and that has more to do with kind of a cult, not occult, but cult mindset, and different cults that have been or are in action at the moment. And for the life of me, I can't remember who the host is, but I will add it here with the information. Then two new ones I've been listening to are Fearless Rebel Radio with Summer Innanen. Yeah. And then Nutrition Matters. And once again, I can't remember what that host's name was, but once again, I'll add it right here. And both of those podcasts have to do with body positivity, and kind of trying to make things related to food sane, which I'm not sure it's that bad in Finland, but there's still a lot to be kind of, yeah, it's a good thing to think about, and it's a good thing to work on, because I like probably just about every other woman on the planet has some body image issues. But after I got pregnant, even though I was, according to BMI, I was overweight when I got pregnant, I got told that under no circumstances should I try to lose weight. If it happens, it happens, because who knows about morning sickness, what else might happen, but that in no way should I try to lose weight. And that's the case as well during breastfeeding. I'm still doing it, so it's actually been a really good thing for me, because, not to say that I'm in any way perfect or that I don't have my good days, but it really kind of made me focus on trying to eat good things, or kind of focus on what I eat, and that what I eat is kind of healthy things. And just going through the pregnancy and how well my body handled it, and just everything, it's helped me to kind of feel more positive about my body, even though it might not look exactly like I might want it to look in my dreams, but it's a good body. Yeah, it's a good body. And just as a general thing, it's no one else's business but my own what I look like. No one has the right to tell me that for whatever reason my body isn't good enough, because it's not their body. It's my thing. If I feel healthy, and if I am healthy, it's nobody's business what I eat or what I do with it. But yeah, so with those issues in mind, yeah, I've been liking Fearless Rebel Radio and Nutrition Matters. Maybe a little bit more on the Fearless Rebel Radio. I think they have more to do with body image issues, while as of course Nutrition Matters has more to do with the food side of things. But they're both good. Then maybe the last podcast I listened to that I want to mention is Spycast. That particular podcast is broadcast and done at the International Spy Museum in Washington, D.C. And since it's in the United States, it covers topics most often to do with the FBI and the CIA, and of course terrorism with regards to 9/11 and the Middle East and things like that. But they do also kind of, since of course they can't talk about ongoing sensitive topics, they have a lot of kind of guests that talk about spying and intelligence work from 50s to 60s to 70s, and it's really kind of interesting to hear what that's been like and how it actually works as opposed to the spy movies and series and stuff like that, which I do like too, but it's kind of really interesting to hear about the reality side of things, how they actually work as opposed to what the silver screen lets you see, or what they show you, because of course they're trying to make it entertaining. They have to do it differently than what it's in real life, but yeah, since that's really kind of a thing that you rarely hear about in the real life kind of setting. So yeah, it's really interesting. They have lots of episodes, so there's very, very, very a lot to listen to. But yeah, I have a few more episodes, but I think that just to be safe, I will be wrapping this up for now. I'm really going to do my best to get another episode up in 2 weeks' time. But for now, that's it for this episode. Thank you so much for spending your time with me after this long break. If you liked this episode, maybe consider subscribing to my channel on YouTube if you haven't already. You might also want to push the like button on this video. Can't force you, but if you liked it, then do. I would be happy. But for now, thank you so much for your time, and I'm hoping to see you next time as well. So until that time, happy crafting.